Welcome, listeners, to Sexual Chemistry with your host, Zoya Sinclair. This is where we explore one of humanity's most fundamental yet often overlooked forms of communication. I'm your host, and today we're diving deep into the world of physical touch, from our very first moments of existence to the complex emotional landscapes of adult relationships. So settle in, get comfortable, and let's begin this fascinating journey through the science and soul of human touch. Picture this. You're floating in perfect darkness, surrounded by warmth, gently swaying in a liquid embrace. This is your first classroom, and touch is your first teacher. From the moment we exist as embryos in our mother's uterus, we're already learning the language of sensation. Our earliest interactions with the world aren't visual or auditory, they're all-encompassing sensory symphonies. We don't yet know the difference between touch, taste, or sound. Everything melts together in one beautiful, undifferentiated experience of being alive. Then comes birth, our dramatic entrance into a world of distinct sensations. Suddenly, we must learn to parse these experiences into what we'll later call our five senses. But in those precious early months, as we nestle at our mother's breast or rest securely in her embrace while being rocked to sleep, we're still primarily creatures of touch. Think about it. The warmth of a mother's lap, the reassuring tug on her skirt when the world feels too big and unfamiliar. These aren't just random sensations, they're our first lessons in love, security, and belonging. Every cuddle, every gentle stroke, every moment of skin-to-skin contact is writing itself into our neural pathways, creating the blueprint for how we'll understand intimacy for the rest of our lives. This is where the foundation is laid, folks. These early sensory experiences, rich with flavors, sounds, fragrances, and our mother's familiar face, they're not just memories. They're the operating system for our future relationships. Now, here's where things get really fascinating. Touch, although we typically think of it as requiring skin contact, has this almost magical ability to transcend physical interaction. How many times have you felt someone's presence without them even being in the same room? We often say we can feel someone nearby, and we're not just being poetic. The mere sound of a loved one's voice can make our skin tingle. The sight of their face can cause that familiar flutter of excitement or keep us wide awake with anticipation. This isn't mysticism. This is the profound power of touch memory working in our brains. Artists have been capturing this phenomenon for centuries. Poets write about the lingering sensation of a lover's touch. Musicians compose songs about feeling someone's presence across great distances. And visual artists try to capture that moment when just seeing someone feels like being touched by them. This transcendent quality of touch explains why we can be moved to tears by a photograph, why a voice on the phone can make us feel held, why we instinctively reach out to comfort others even when they're beyond our physical reach. Our capacity for touch extends far beyond our fingertips. It lives in our hearts, our memories, and our deepest emotional connections. Here's a truth that might make you uncomfortable. The way you love as an adult is intimately connected to how you were touched as a child. Those early experiences of affection, security, and peace, or their absence, create lasting imprints on our capacity for intimacy. When our early days lack sufficient affectionate touch, when security is absent, when peace is replaced by chaos, we carry these deficits into our adult relationships. It becomes challenging to form deep attachments because we never learned the fundamental language of loving touch. There's wisdom in the saying that what isn't learned in childhood may remain unlearned in adulthood, especially when it comes to matters of love. This isn't about blame or dwelling on the past, it's about understanding why some people seem to naturally know how to be intimate while others struggle. But here's the hopeful part. Understanding this pattern is the first step toward changing it. Recognizing these early influences allows us to be more compassionate with ourselves and others when intimacy feels difficult or foreign. When we fall in love as adults, we're essentially attempting to recreate that perfect early environment of safety and connection. If those experiences were positive, love feels familiar and welcoming. If they were lacking, love might feel simultaneously desperately wanted and terrifyingly unfamiliar. Let's talk about falling in love. That exquisite madness that overtakes us when we find someone who makes our world spin faster. When love strikes, emotions don't just affect our hearts and minds, they engulf our entire being. Our bodies become hyper-aware instruments, finely tuned to every sensation. The slightest physical contact with our beloved can evoke reactions that surprise us with their intensity. A brush of fingers sends electricity through our nervous system. A casual touch on the shoulder creates sudden thrills that make us feel more alive than we've ever felt before. In love, touch doesn't just dominate. It reigns supreme over all other senses. This is why lovers often close their eyes when they embrace, shutting out the visual world to fully immerse themselves in the tactile universe they're creating together. Every contour of their partner's body becomes a landscape to explore, every touch a discovery. The early stages of romantic love are particularly rich with tactile exploration. The tentative touches, the playful petting, the extended foreplay, these aren't just steps toward physical intimacy. They're profound conversations conducted entirely through touch, each caress asking questions and providing answers that words could never convey. This is what separates meaningful intimacy from purely transactional encounters. In relationships where touch is commodified, where it's sex for sale, this essential element of exploratory communicative touch is absent. The body is present, but the soul's conversation through touch is silent. Touch speaks different dialects around the world, but its fundamental message remains universal: connection, acceptance, and care. In American culture, we have the handshake, that firm grip that says, "I see you as an equal, I'm open to you, and I mean you no harm." But refuse that handshake, the message changes instantly. Suddenly, you're communicating tension, discord, or rejection without saying a word. The absence of expected touch speaks just as loudly as its presence. Travel to Europe, and you might find yourself wrapped in a bear hug or receiving kisses on both cheeks from people you've just met. These gestures serve the same fundamental purpose as our American handshake. They're declarations of friendliness and openness to connection. Of course, these cultural norms come with complex rules about appropriateness, particularly between members of opposite sexes. Society's guidelines help us navigate these waters, and recent conversations about sexual harassment have made us more aware of the importance of respecting boundaries while still honoring our human need for appropriate physical connection. The key is understanding that touch is always a form of communication, and like any language, it requires both speakers and listeners to understand the context, the relationship, and the consent involved. Within marriage, couples create their own unique dialect of touch. They establish boundaries of appropriate and inappropriate contact based on mutual understanding, respect, and love. While society provides broad guidelines and physical abuse is universally condemned, each couple develops their own intimate language of touch. For individuals whose primary love language is physical touch, this becomes even more significant. When they're experiencing sorrow or pain, being held isn't just nice, it's essential. It's how they feel most deeply understood and cared for. This is why infidelity strikes people with a physical touch love language so devastatingly. Despite our modern era's supposed sexual freedom, many have discovered that open marriages, where spouses engage intimately with others, create profound emotional challenges. The human need for exclusive intimacy often clashes with this supposed liberty, resulting in deep emotional anguish. When someone whose love is primarily expressed and received through touch discovers that this precious form of communication is being shared with someone else, the betrayal cuts to the bone. Counselors' files are full of such cases documenting the widespread emotional turmoil inflicted when the sacred language of marital touch is violated. The aftermath requires tremendous effort to rebuild. It's not just about forgiveness, it's about restoring faith in touch as a safe, exclusive form of intimate communication between partners. When crisis strikes, and it inevitably does in every life, people's instinctive reaction often involves physical comfort. We offer hugs, we hold hands, we pull loved ones close. This isn't coincidence, it's wisdom encoded in our DNA. Physical touch becomes a lifeline during trying times. While external circumstances might remain unchanged, the assurance of being loved and supported through touch can provide the emotional strength needed to endure almost anything. Every couple will face various crises: the death of loved ones, unexpected accidents, health scares, financial disasters. During these moments, expressing love becomes not just important, but essential for survival. For someone whose primary love language is physical touch, few things are as crucial during crisis as being held and comforted while they navigate their pain. Words might offer little solace when the world is falling apart, but the act of being held communicates care at a level deeper than language. These moments of crisis present unique opportunities to demonstrate love through touch. The tender gestures made during difficult times linger in memory long after the crisis has passed. A gentle hand on the shoulder during grief, arms wrapped around someone during their darkest hour, a comforting embrace when words fail. These moments of touch become treasured memories that strengthen relationships for years to come. Conversely, the absence of such gestures can leave equally lasting impressions. The times when we needed to be held but weren't, when we reached out for comfort but found empty air, these memories can haunt relationships and create emotional distance that persists long after the original crisis has been resolved. If you want to master the language of physical touch in your relationship, you need to become a student of your partner's preferences. Start by honestly assessing how much and what types of touch you currently share daily. Are you stuck in patterns? Are certain types of touch dominating while others remain unexplored? Human anatomy makes physical touch perhaps the most accessible love language. Our bodies are equipped with countless touch receptors, making almost anywhere a potential point of loving connection. But here's the crucial insight. You can touch your partner almost anywhere, but not all touches will resonate equally. Your most valuable guidance comes directly from your partner. They understand best which touches feel genuinely affectionate versus merely perfunctory or even irritating. This requires setting aside your own preferences and truly listening to their touch dialect. Remember, what feels good to you doesn't automatically feel good to them. Some touches that you find pleasurable might actually be uncomfortable or annoying to your partner. Continuing with such touches despite feedback sends a message opposite to love. It communicates a lack of sensitivity to their needs. Touch falls into two main categories, explicit and implicit. Explicit touches demand your full attention and effort. Think sexual foreplay, intercourse, a sensual back massage. These interactions require preparation and skill because they represent significant expressions of love. If your partner treasures back massages, investing time and energy in mastering this art becomes a worthwhile expression of your commitment. Implicit touches, on the other hand, are subtle and momentary yet incredibly meaningful. A light hand on the shoulder while pouring coffee, a brief brush of contact while passing in the kitchen, sitting close together while watching television. These require awareness rather than skill, presence rather than preparation. For those who didn't grow up in tactile families or whose primary love language isn't physical touch, implicit touches require conscious cultivation. But they're powerful precisely because they add no extra time to your day while communicating love effectively. A brief touch when leaving for work, a kiss upon returning home, fleeting moments that carry enormous communicative weight. Let's dive into one of the most powerful tools for enhancing physical connection between couples. Sensate focus. Originally developed for sex therapy, this technique has proven beneficial for all couples wanting to deepen their physical and emotional intimacy. Sensate focus serves 8 primary functions that collectively create stronger relationships. It increases awareness of individual sensations, enables attention to personal needs, encourages communication about desires, expands the range of intimate behaviors, fosters appreciation for extended foreplay, promotes positive relational experiences, builds sexual desire, and enhances emotional intimacy. The program consists of 2 key phases, sensual and sexual, with couples engaging in exercises 3 times per week, approximately 20 minutes per partner per session. During the program, couples are generally advised to avoid intercourse, allowing them to focus entirely on sensation and connection without performance pressure. The first stage centers on purely sensual pleasure. Couples explore touching hands, feet, scalp, and face to boost communication, creativity, and experimentation. The goal is maintaining positive thoughts and comments throughout. Eventually, partners progress to full-body massage, excluding genital areas, breasts, and buttocks. This stage can last weeks, depending on how quickly couples grasp the fundamental principles. The objective isn't relaxation, it's active engagement with sensation. Unlike a spa massage designed to help you drift off, Sensate focus requires staying fully present and aware of every touch, every response, every moment of connection. The second stage introduces erotic stimulation, focusing on previously excluded areas. Couples begin with non-sexual touching before transitioning to predetermined sexual touches. While orgasm is allowed, it's not the primary objective. The emphasis remains on sensation, awareness, and communication. The final stage involves transitioning to intercourse, but with the same principles of awareness and communication. Couples experiment with different levels of penetration, penetration without thrusting, or penetration without striving for orgasm. The pressure to perform is removed. replaced by curiosity about sensation and connection. As we wrap up our journey through the landscape of touch, let's step back and see the bigger picture. From our first moments in the womb to our final days, touch remains our most primal and profound form of communication. It's a language that predates words, transcends cultural barriers, and speaks directly to our souls. Understanding the importance of physical touch isn't just about improving our romantic relationships, though that's certainly valuable. It's about recognizing touch as fundamental to human flourishing. Children who are touched with love grow up understanding security. Adults who maintain appropriate physical connections experience better mental health, stronger immune systems, and deeper relationships. In our increasingly digital world, we risk losing touch with touch itself. We spend hours connecting virtually while potentially becoming more physically isolated than ever before. Recognizing this trend and intentionally cultivating appropriate physical connection becomes not just a relationship skill, but a life skill. Whether it's a handshake with a colleague, a hug with a friend, holding hands with a partner, or cuddling with children, these moments of connection ground us in our shared humanity. They remind us that beneath all our differences, we share the same fundamental need for loving touch. The research is clear. Humans who experience appropriate, loving touch throughout their lives are happier, healthier, and more resilient. They form stronger relationships, communicate more effectively, and navigate life's challenges with greater emotional stability. So here's your homework, listeners. Pay attention to the touch in your life. Notice when you're craving it, when you're avoiding it, and when you're offering it. Observe the unspoken conversations happening through handshakes, hugs, and casual contacts. Become fluent in this ancient language that your body already knows. Remember, touch is more than just a sensation. It's a language, a healer, a bridge between souls. Today, we'll uncover why this ancient form of communication remains so vital in our modern world, and how understanding it can transform our relationships and emotional well-being. Interested in listening to the full story about physical touch and the multidimensional impact it has on us? Then download Skoob app today and get the full access to the podcast, curated with care just for you. Stay connected, stay touched, and stay human.